Nudity when? That's a good question as well. One second, guys. Yeah, dang. Good. Ah, shit. Hello
everyone and welcome to the Wolf's Side channel. Today with a very special topic, I mean always special. The Reckoning stream summary, or how Henry calls it.
MMO2 is the best game on the market. It's gonna be nice. Gonna be nice. We're trying to refine our work in sprint sessions Q&A to make sure we deliver solid and stable patches. So yeah, we've been collecting data from you guys. We're also using some of the in-game pulse functions. We are fully aware of, obviously, that we wanna push the client performance as much as possible. There are two separate things that have been a little bit of a confusion. It's the network side of performance, and then we have the client performance. They're two very separate things, and we can handle a better population of influx. And obviously, what's most stressful is huge sieges, as you may know. Sebastian boldly stated, it is fixed rather than hopefully it is. The other topic is FPS, right? And that is a client performance. So it's always good to remind everyone the differences. So we still struggle with client performance, and we know that having a decent FPS is quite vital to be able to survive on a battlefield. We've done some very important changes. So what we have done is we are moving over to Unreal Engine 5.5 because there's actually something that we're utilizing that is helping with multi-threading, utilizing more threads simultaneously on the CPUs, which means less CPU bound, which means we have been heavily CPU bound pretty much since day one. So the more we can optimize on the CPU, the better and more efficiently the GPU can work. So we're moving over to 5.5 that have a few cool things. Large scale battles, right? That's one of the client performance that we've been talking about quite a while. I have a few numbers, hardware specs from older to newer generation. So Sprint 10 is fully focused on performance, client performance. And we also have the new chat system. Our current chat system is quite old, out of date, and quirky, right? We're not talking about any fake frames. I'm not talking about frame generation or DLSS. I'm talking about raw FPS performance without anything enabled. So if we look at the first example here, it's a pretty old generation CPU. Here you can see some world optimization from Toxai, Tindrem, Fabanum, Tasty Village, Necro Dungeon, Steps. Overall, we're looking at around 17 to 55% increased in raw FPS, just moving around in the world and visiting dungeons and cities, which is a pretty good general base cost improvement. And it's on a quite old CPU, as you know. The GPU is quite new, 3060, but that's not the bottleneck here. The bottleneck is the CPU. We have 200 characters on the screen. On live, on this build, you're running around with around 29 FPS. It's not very solid. But on the latest build we have right now in-house, he gained 17%, so about 34 FPS. So absolutely noticeable improvement on a lot of players and in the world. Then if we look at Ryzen 5 3600, in this case we're looking at Medulli specifically on this hardware. On live that is running around 30 to 50 FPS depending on direction and where in Medulli. And on the latest build the same machine gets 57 to 100 FPS, so almost twice the performance in that case. So it varies quite a lot depending on where you are and how it scales in the hardware. But this is pretty solid performance boosts on a little bit older hardware. A little bit new hardware, i9 14900K on a 3090 RTX card. So pretty top of the line, right? 250 characters from 48 FPS to 83 FPS. Average 70% performance gain. There's still a few things we can do, but we found this to be the first big thing that actually makes a noticeable difference for everyone from old hardware. Unreal 5 is quite known for being CPU bound, quite heavy on the CPU. What they're trying to do now is multi-threading more and support more cores to handle that, because most of the new CPUs have multiple cores and to be able to utilize them better is obviously good for gaming. As you can see here, after Sprint 10, that's when we get to the juice. That is looking to be a huge expansion. It's our biggest expansion since release of the game, and we call it Reckoning. As you can see here, majority of you guys have been voting on one thing specifically, which is combat abilities, which will add more depth to the combat, both for PvE and PvP. There's a lot of things that goes into this patch. You know, we have the adrenaline system, we have the fatality system, we have the combat abilities, we have an overhaul work on the TC that we've been talking about, dividing the world into regions, and you fight for regions, and those regions have different bonuses. That's an extremely short version of it. So more interesting, engaging sieges for these areas and hold control of lands and bonuses rather than full out sieging a keep. That isn't as fun. What we're also going to do is we're going to have a lineup where we share the development a little bit more open. We're going to have regular updates on a weekly basis to show you more in depth. Next, we're looking at we're going to reveal the invasion system, reveal what it is and how it works in general. And we're going to showcase some of that. Have a stream dedicated for the adrenaline system, how it works, and go into some of the abilities, because that's also something we want feedback on. We're going to run PTR quite early on combat abilities and the balance of the adrenaline system because of the obvious reasons. Very sensitive, and is something that can really lift Mortal Online, the combat experience from PvE to PvP to whole new levels. We're going to remove siege windows. So all details are not fully fleshed out. How we may want to modify what we have for the keeps. We wanna get feedback on the adrenaline and those combat systems. Because again, balance is super sensitive, right? We want to make sure that player skills is key. We want to make sure that what we have is solid before we go live with it. So we're not splitting the player base with a North American server. So believe it or not, we have a huge demand from American players, especially West Coast, that some of them have tried Mortal, many of them have not even tried it because they hear there's only a European server, therefore I'm not gonna play. So imagine a couple of thousand players that are looking forward to the game, they do want to play it, but they refuse because we don't have a North American server. It obviously means if you're marketing and released a server in North America, that means those couple of thousands of new players will join the game. So that doesn't mean we are splitting any player. Obviously, the players we have, we're still gonna have, right? We expect many to wanna experience and explore the new content, just like any new lands, like we did in Mortal Online 1. When we released Sarka, for instance, we got a huge influx of new players, and many players, old players, came back to try out the new content. Just like any game, any expansion. World of Warcraft do the same thing, right? When there's expansion, you may want to explore the new lands. So we're obviously expecting a huge growth along with the North American server, where we can actually get all players from North America rather than just, partially a few of them. I know it's hard to understand the numbers, how it works with active players, Steam chart that misses some development time, and put the numbers on a web page so people see a little bit what's going on in the game rather than having a guessing game. Server data as well. There's a lot of interesting data that we can share on the website. Now when we have the new backend system, we can also pull interesting data from in-game in live and put it on our websites. There are a few things that we hope we can also bring in Sprint 10 when it comes to some balanced things that we've been discussing also quite a bit. We have some resistance magic updates, tower shield with magic updates, some of those things, some tweaks on some animals, pets. Yes, a few bug fixes as well that you guys reported that are quite annoying. We're not looking just to nerf mages because we know there's a passionate mage style players out there as well. What we're trying to do is some proper adjustment on the tower shields, which we know, we didn't plan that the meta is put on your tower shield and stand in the corner with your back towards the enemies. It's a little bit silly. But we also are looking at the new spell, kind of like reactive armor, which will be a nice introduction at the same time. But there will be a counter option in a new way that makes sense for mages. There will be a weight strength requirement bound to each shield type when you craft it. We did plan to have a few basic abilities, but we agree after we discuss and go further into it, it makes sense to deliver the combat abilities along with adrenaline system. So we moved over the adrenaline system from 10 to the Reckoning, which is sprint 11. We call it the Reckoning because it's more of an expansion. We're most likely starting with Invasion next. We're gonna show you a little bit of that. Probably go into the adrenaline ability system to show you some of that. Set up a motion capture system again. Really cool stuff. It's still the best out there, and actually large companies are using them. Different gloves and suits, so we look like ninjas. So we're doing a lot of work on that when it comes to combat abilities and different moves. We're not adding any power glove support at this point, but you know, in the future anything is possible.
So no joke, he literally didn't answer that question.
Nudity when? That's a good question as well.
And then a huge pause where he didn't said anything for like 30 seconds. And then he avoiding the topic.
A lot of different questions here. I really hope combat abilities don't repeat the same mistake as Star Wars Gap.
So I guess nudity will not come soon, I guess.
Yeah, we got a lot of feedback on TC, as I said, that's why it's on the Reckoning roadmap as well. There's going to be a huge overhaul when it comes to how you control land. You know, the circles, it doesn't play out well now after we have collected feedback and how it works. We are all on the same page that the circle colliding and how you control that area and so on. We're not happy with it, so it's going to change into, we're going to have region-based Mirrorland where every region you can fight to control, set your rules and collect the bonuses from those regions. We collected feedback for a long time, but we don't want to rush a change and then, it's not good either. We need to overhaul again and again and again. That's something that are, you know, quite typical in these type of game, and it's easy to get into those loops, which we have done before in the old game. We want to make sure that we have the whole picture and this is a solid change that is for the better and it can stay. We don't want to reinvent functions. Yeah, the chat system is awesome. It has everything you could expect in a modern MMO pretty much. Tabs, customizable color options, highlight items, link items. Some people may think that what we had in MMO 1 is better than what we have now, but it was far from good. We have a lot of issues in the first game as well. We want to make sure it's a good base system that can expand on, that the core base there is good enough. What about more reputation, judgment punishment for committed crimes in NPC territory? To make slums into... Yeah, we actually planning to expand the standing system as well. It makes sense, especially with the AI stuff we have planned. It's too little, you know, to max, gain, lose, and the consequences is nothing, right? So we plan to expand that heavily as well, yes. And to make it a huge stair to reach more impressive steps where there are also different bonuses. We don't have any timeline dates that I can reveal at this point. Every time there's something you don't like or see a cycle downtrend, bam, it's dying, oh, we have to quit, we're pulling the plug, is the company shutting down? No, calm down. This is a golden year for us. We are extremely excited about the work we're doing, and we are positive that you're gonna enjoy our upcoming expansions, no doubt. We have done this for 20 years. We don't panic, we're here for the long run, so take it easy and enjoy the ride, or take a break if you need to. That's fully understandable. We are not worried about that. We see healthy numbers. We see a very stable subscription base, and that's the most important for us. If we don't have support and subscriptions, things will be different. What's new AI tech? So in month of April, I plan to do a live stream where I'm gonna go through that as well. So as you can understand, we will be doing a little bit more of streams and updates more regularly, where you will see where we will go through them in more depth and explain them. It's better to show them live, right, than me just talking about them. The majority have said it was awesome when we released it and have been enjoying it, and there's a lot of things to refine on your characters. So people can't love every single thing in Mortal 9. It's impossible. So when you shout out, oh, fix mastery, I don't like it, that may be true to you, but maybe the majority enjoys it. That's something you need to consider. You can't be egoistic and think, if I don't like this, no one does. That's not life. That doesn't work. That's not realistic. Also needs love. I agree. There's a lot of people that want to play as a more fully fledged ranger style, and I think that will be possible with the combat system. We have some really cool abilities that allows you to be more of a fully fledged ranged fighter rather than having to be a secondary ranged using ranged weapons. obviously if you pair with the bow, that comes to a cost bow, right? The durability. And we're not sure if you're gonna thrust with the arrows or be able to have a real dagger at the same time, which you can thrust with up close, but still using the bow as a main weapon. Those are the things we're experimenting with. I can't really show the adrenaline system now, and that wasn't planned. I actually have a dedicated stream planned to show that system. We've been discussing as well, you know, the elementalism. If the magic damage part should be the same type of magic damage as ecumenic, then means it will be also resistible by Psyche. And that also means we have potions and different alchemies that are also coming that can be utilized to resist and affect those damage types. I can't say when we are doing the entities for elementalism. There's a few things we first want to finish with that specific coder that are usually doing magic work. We're going to use custom mesh nanites in 5.5. No, we're still not going to utilize nanites because it's simply too expensive. We haven't considered split up other servers dedicated with PvE only. You know, every year we get a few requests. They want a non-PvP server, but it doesn't really say Mortal Online. We hope to be able to expand the role enough with enough consequences that you can find your spot in the world to avoid as much PvP as possible and enjoy that. But there will always be a risk of player conflict because it's a huge part of what Mortal Online, a true sandbox, is. But obviously if you have a cramped small area, you're forced into PvP and death. But if we expand the world and there's a lot of options, you will be able to find your way in the world. Access the chat from anywhere in the world, from any app in the world. We can even have a Mortal app and you can access it, and you can access the broker, everything. It's so dynamic right now with our new backend. We can link an item, you can highlight an item, you can show your crafted weapon in a trade chat, for instance, and you'll be able to see the stats on it. You know, we support anything of that now, like any modern MMO does. You can customize the chat and tabs and colors however you want. So it's extremely robust. We can do anything pretty much. So we're looking at a spell, we call it Reactive Armor, you know, kind of like in UO, but our take on it. So imagine that you cast... there's a few rules that we haven't decided yet, and that's part of the balance and feedback, I guess. But if you can cast a armor shield on you, which is also invisible, like a magic reflect armor. And this runs for X amount of minutes, but as soon as someone hits you physically, melee damage enables a reactive armor buff that lasts for X seconds. I don't know, 10, 12, we don't know yet, right? But that means the first hit, it reduces X amount of percentage of that physical damage. The next hit, it reduces less, and the third hit, it loses less, and then the shield runs out. This would be ecumenical spell. Yes, it's planned for ecumenical currently. Self-cast only, it's a special rule. I know that Sebastian hates those, but in some cases, that's the only or best solution. So, yeah, I didn't plan to talk about TC either in detail. So, all of these, TC, AI, combat, adrenaline, invasion, all of them, I'm going to have a dedicated stream for. There's a few things we are aware of, and there's a few things we are discussing. Also, we have the Agmir, what the clay gift called, the one that you stand still and get higher armor. We're discussing to make you able to move slowly with it when you have that buff, rather than just standing still. You know, some small things like that could give you more. Yeah, exactly, rock solid. That just makes it a little bit more useful. I think the best solution, which the majority agrees on, it's still one world. We can all travel everywhere. We can still play with all of our friends. But now we can travel across continents that are located across the world. You know, everyone can enjoy. They can be on their favorite area, but they can still participate in sieges, conflicts, and travel across the continents. And to build adrenaline, you need to either take damage or pass damage or parry, mercy kill someone. So we don't have a public date on Reckoning release. When we get closer, we're gonna have a lot of PTR testing. Surprisingly, many are asking for the nudity back, and you know, one of the most popular video ever for Mortal Online was the uncensored female nudity clip, motion capture physics. Holy shit, that was popular, and we want to get it back. It's just that it haven't been very high up there on our prioritizing list. I can't say when instruments for Bard's media file support is coming. We have good design for it. We obviously, it's fun, exciting stuff. But right now we are all fully focused on our two very huge expansion that's going to happen. There's nothing more than me and the team hates more than cheaters in our game. They want to destroy our game, they want to destroy the experience for all of us. We take it extremely serious and we always discuss it, we always go through it, and we always have to spend and dedicate time on it. And we do ban and remove accounts every week, every month. And the other important part to this is with our new backend system, we will finally improve our communication tools and log tools so we can much more effectively communicate back to you and confirm things, and even have easy logs to access and leave messages. Goose Lord, I've heard a lot of that, accessible buildings and so on. When players find creative ways of reaching areas, they do it using our allowed tools, no exploits, etc. That's when it becomes tricky, right? Okay, they did use spells, they did use function, and they did it in a correct way. No abuse, no cheating. Do we punish them and change it? Or, do we just inform that it's done in a legit way? You can also do it, and you can do the same thing. Or do we have to start interfering, like, okay, it's getting out of hand. We have to do much more restricted rules on placement and functions just to avoid it. That's why it's not just a simple response that this is the thing, Every case is very different. We always evaluate them. And in some cases, we have to address it with the devs, go through the devs, like, look, this is not fun. No one is benefiting from it. It causes a lot of problems. Now we need to do a code change. We need to prevent those things. People expect, well, I invented this thing and this trick and using this in a legit way. Why should I be punished, right? But obviously it's up to us to see, well, is that okay? Or will it start, give a really bad experience for everyone? That's where we have to intervene and see, okay, we need to go into the system and change codes or restrict things. A lot of times it's brilliant and we love it. Wow, that was cool. I didn't consider it. Sometimes it's a secret that is annoying for many, but beautiful for those that knows it, right? We can't just jump the gun then and wreck what they have managed to do in a way that is legal, currently at least. Wait, world heat and body heat comes during Unreal 5.5. Please clarify. It doesn't. We don't have any world heat active. We do plan to have world heats activated on certain zones in the extreme new areas. You consider 360 spin tricks during fights as a feature. So we are minimizing the spinning. Those that really like spinning and can do one spin or so maybe can do it, but it will be more limited and maybe cost more stamina. So it's not going to be the main crazy spin meta. They will have to adapt also a little bit and embrace the new abilities and master those. So my goal is that there will be a natural transition that just spinning is not the meta anymore. If you do that, you're old school. So obviously there's a lot to this system, and things gonna make more sense when I have the stream, when we go through adrenaline and some of those abilities. Obviously with our PvE and AI improvement that we also plan to do in Reckoning, we hope that we're gonna widen the PvE experience for both PvP players and non-PvP players. 3 months wipes. So we're not a seasonal game, but the beauty of Modline is it's persistent and it will keep expanding and evolving. We consider making Haven free to play? Yes, we have, and we do plan to do that eventually. When things are timed right and we have met the goals that we have set up in a certain areas, we're eventually gonna make Haven free to play. And we know that will be a very strong pull to get hesitated players or random players get to try the game in a much larger volume. And obviously that will help us to tap in to find more new players. I think it makes sense to make Haven free to play because it's going to be restricted. We're going to give them a little bit more things to do there. They can maybe even fully do all the Clade Experience 20, open up mastery system, but not expand more on that. If Stars Tech was affordable, will you consider buying their server meshing product model line? No, but I would consider licensing our tech to them because they will save a few years because they're trying to build what we have built, and ours is working and we have impressive numbers. Their tests have not been very successful in large scale, even though it kind of work.
So I hope you liked it. It's as compact as possible. Really, I really tried it. I needed 9,000 cuts for this. So please leave a like and subscribe, would be really awesome, by the way. So special thanks to all these supporters, of course. Carmel, Lucario, Ronus, Paternax, Column Bulldog, and all the others, of course. So never forget to miss the stream summary art. I mean party art, party art. And see you all next time. Goodbye.